What's up? It's Shane here, back with another video. This time I wanted to talk about price controls for economics. Price controls are actually pretty interesting because it involves government intervention or involvement, and anytime the government's involved in any kind of economic activity, that definitely gets pretty interesting. But anyway, so price controls are really an attempt by the government to set prices in the market, and this can be for a good or service. But we say that there are two main types of price controls. We have price ceilings, and we have price floors. You can think about like a ceiling, like up high, and a floor down low, much like in a room, something like that, if that helps at all. But anyways, so I'll talk about ceilings first, and then I'll talk about floors later on in the video. But anyways, so a price ceiling is where the government sets a maximum price for a good or service. This is a legally established maximum price. So if anyone were to say set a price over that price, that would be illegal, and they could be fined or jailed or whatever. Congress has set the rules for that. Anyway, so let's say, for example, we have a price ceiling here, set up here, on our basic supply and demand graphs. These are supposed to be the same, minus some squigglies. And let's say we have a price for a product, let's say milk, at $2 a gallon, right here. Well, if the government sets a maximum price of, say, $5 a gallon on milk, it's not really going to have an effect. If milk is selling for $2 a gallon right now in the market, and tomorrow the government announces that the maximum price will be $5 a gallon, well, that doesn't change anything. You're still going to be buying milk for $2 a gallon. The only exception is if there was reason to believe that the price of milk was going to skyrocket. But that aside, we can see that there's not really going to be an effect if there's a price ceiling above the price that already exists in the market. So we have a term for this, and we call it non-binding. So in this case, setting the maximum price of milk at $5 a gallon is a non-binding price ceiling. Well, as you might have guessed, the alternative is a binding. And this is a lot worse. Because if we have milk for $2 a gallon, still, and the maximum price is set below that price, well, now we have a problem. Let's say it's $2 a gallon here, but the government sets a maximum price of $1 a gallon. Well, now it's illegal for any stores or grocery chains to sell that milk at that price. They have to lower the price. Well, what's going to happen? Everyone's used to buying it for $2 a gallon, and it's like a permanent legal sale mandated by the government for $1 a gallon. Everyone's going to be buying milk for $1 a gallon, and we're going to get a shortage at these points here. This is a shortage, and that's pretty bad. So usually the government doesn't set price ceilings that low. One example would be rent control, where the government, says, hey, maximum that you can charge for rent is $500 a month. Well, if the market is $800 a month, that definitely poses some problems to providers of rent. I'm not going to get into that here, but we can see that a binding is the one that actually has these effects on the market. So if a binding, if a price ceiling is a maximum price for a good or service, what do you guys think a price floor is? As you might have guessed, that's a minimum price for a good or service. So let me restart right here. And all right, so let's say that we have a price here, and the government sets a minimum price. And we'll go with milk again. Let's say milk is $2 a gallon, but the government says, hey, has to be at least $1 a gallon. Well, again, nothing really changes. So again, we're going to call that a non-binding price floor. That's not that interesting, you know. Doesn't really tell us anything. Shouldn't affect the market in any way. And so the alternate would be a binding price floor. And so if milk is $2 a gallon, but then the government comes along and says, hey, you have to sell it at a minimum of $5 a gallon. Well, this doesn't, it's not meant, to hurt producers as much, but immediately this will definitely hurt the consumers because, if they're used to buying milk at $2 a gallon, now they have to buy it at $5 a gallon. That's going to hurt their budget or wallet, especially for low-income people. And now if they can't afford that or choose not to buy it or, go to a substitute good instead of milk, maybe they decide to buy almond milk, well, we're probably going to see the demand for milk go down, but almond milk go up. And so this will definitely end up hurting the producers of milk in some way. Very controversial example of a price floor is the minimum wage. And this is, where the government says, hey, you have to pay workers at least $8, $9, $10 an hour. And that isn't technically a price floor. It's a very controversial subject, but I will say that more often than not, certainly not in all cases, but definitely a lot of times, the minimum wage is actually non-binding. So it might be, say, $8 an hour in one particular state. I don't know what the current national is, but maybe in that industry, in that state, people are making $10 an hour on average. Well, the minimum wage is non-binding in this case. There might be a couple outliers of a few people making, close to that or even less, at which point it would have an effect, but at least for the market average in that area, it's non-binding. At the same time, if you have a non-binding minimum wage, sometimes a minimum wage kind of creates the illusion that, well, if minimum wage goes up, all the other wages, for other industries and goods are going to go up. Well, if you have a non-binding minimum wage, there's no reason to believe that. That's just simply not the case. The worst case is where you have a binding minimum wage above, and that can create some helpful results, but it can also be harmful. That's very controversial. I'm not going to go into that in this video. I just wanted to touch up on the topics of price floors and price ceilings as all part of price controls. So I hope this video helped you guys. Seeing the graphs, seeing what's the difference between non-binding and binding, and well, what makes it binding, and how is that so? If this video has helped you guys, please like it. Definitely subscribe. I'm planning to post some more economics and accounting videos in the future. Other than that, have a nice day. Hope this helped.